Welcome back to Marvel Rivals Coaching. This is our first video of hopefully many where we go and talk about stuff that you want to think about when you're trying to rank up, trying to get better at the game Marvel Rivals, even if you're coming from Overwatch. One of the first things I want to do is make a video about how to set up your mouse and find your sensitivity to get the best aim that you can out of the gate. Because it is actually quite a complicated topic, but it doesn't have to be. When I first switched to playing on the PC, coming from a console, it was very difficult to figure out what my sensitivity should be. And in fact, I had one of those ETBIs that were way too high that people were like, what are you doing? So thought I'd save a bunch of you that trouble by giving you a video showing you how to set up your mouse pretty quickly, okay? So first off, if you're coming from Overwatch, setting up your rival's sensitivity is actually pretty easy. Just go into the game of Overwatch, look at your sensitivity in the menu, and then multiply by 0.375. The number that you get will be what you should set your Marvel Rivals sensitivity to. So look at that. You're already done. Congratulations. You don't have to watch the rest of the video. Now, if you didn't play Overwatch or you want to learn more about how to set up your mouse properly, let's go ahead and continue. So if you're new to computer games and playing with a mouse, then you have one thing you want to do right off the get-go, and that is to change a setting in your mouse for your Windows PC. So first off, before we even log into the game, what I want you to do is to search your settings for your mouse, and we're going to go into the advanced settings to change a little setting here. So in the bottom left-hand corner, type in mouse settings. You might get a menu like this, click mouse and trackpad, or if you're on Windows 11, I think it says mouse. Then what you're looking for is something that says related settings, additional mouse settings. I think on Windows 11 it says advanced mouse settings. Then you should get to a screen that looks like this. Click on pointer options, and then where it says enhance pointer precision, uncheck that box. Click apply and OK. What this does is it changes how fast your mouse moves depending on how fast you move your mouse. Sorry, how fast your pointer moves depending on how fast you move your mouse. So when you aim to the right, if you move that quickly, your mouse will shoot further if you move your mouse quicker. If you move it slowly, it'll cover less ground during that same sweep, and that leads to some inconsistencies, whereas we want to have like a consistent flick on any kind of game that we're playing. So that's kind of like step one, is just turn that off before you even load up the game. You know, they just turn it off one time when you set up your account on your Windows PC, so you don't have to do this every time. So I actually just talked about that, so we'll go to the next thing. So from here, there's really two things we want to go over. The first one is going to be something called EDPI, and we don't have to get too complicated into it, but it's just a way for us to compare two users' settings based on relatively on how much the screen will actually move depending on how much your mouse moves. And it's going to be kind of a great guide to figure out what your base sensitivity should begin at. So, as I already said, it just is a way to show relative speed from one user to another. What you do need to do is look up your mouse DPI. If you don't know what that number is, you can Google your mouse model. Like I have a Logitech 502, so I'll type that and then sensitivity, and you can see what sensitivities it comes in. Some mice have the ability to change the DPI. Others only have one DPI. I think the most popular DPIs are 800, 1600, and 3200. Some mice, you can have some different stuff, okay? So you do want to figure that out first. Now, to get to the eDPI, what you will end up doing is multiplying your DPI that you found by Googling your DPI for your mouse, and you multiply it by your game sensitivity. Now, luckily, there's a lot of information you can find about this about Overwatch, but I'll kind of sum it up. Looking at Overwatch players, they tend to have eDPIs, which is your DPI times your in-game sensitivity, of between 3000 and 5600. This is a data spreadsheet taken from a bunch of the pros from Overwatch. Okay, a pretty good sample size, and you can see even the best are sitting between 3000 and 5600. There are some like outliers here who have the most insane aim. I'm assuming they're like Tracer players that have to do the 720s nonstop, but a majority of people hover around here. The first time I researched this, like what should my sensitivity actually be, I found out my sensitivity was like 12,000. When I bumped it way down, my aim got a lot better, and that's in Overwatch. Now, we can still take this as a guideline for Marvel Rivals, because we know we can multiply it by that 0.36, I think it was, right? Let me go back a little bit. 0.375, okay? So we take those numbers and we multiply that by 0.375, and then we can map that out. So most users that have a mouse with 800 DPI kind of float around here, or between 1.2 and 2.7. People that have 1600 DPI, which would be about here, tend to have half the sensitivity because the relative sensitivity would be the same. So someone playing on 1600 as sensitivity of 1 would be the same as someone at 800 playing on 2 in terms of relative sensitivity. Now the difference here is just how the mouse tracks the movement. So if you have a very small mouse pad, you might want to have a higher DPI, or you might find that it'd be a little bit more smoother for you. Me personally, my mouse supports any DPI. I used to play on 3200, but I actually found that my tracking for my mouse was better when I actually put it down to 800 and adjusted my sensitivity appropriately. So for Marvel Rivals, depending on your DPI, most likely you should be between these sensitivities based on your DPI. I went ahead and just took the most common ones that we had here. So now what we want to do is we want to actually take this information and go into Marvel Rivals to figure out what our personal sensitivity is, because there is no single best sensitivity that will work for everyone. It's just kind of unique to what feels good for you. And what we're going to do is go into the practice range and figure out what that sensitivity is. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I forgot to say, like, another big factor about what your sensitivity needs to be is depending on how big your mouse pad is, and also like if you're using your arm to aim or just your wrist, kind of like I do. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the practice range. We're going to find a spot that has a nice line that we can use to dedicate like where a 180 degree turn would be. We're going to put the mouse in the middle of our mouse pad, and then we're just going to move it all the way to the right of the mouse pad. During this turn, we want that to be at least 180 degrees. We don't want to be some crazy number like 360, okay? Alright, let's go in here, and as you can see, I already loaded up Marvel Rivals. So right here, there's this nice long line here that's going to help me know where 180 degrees is going to be. I was AFK for too long. I've never seen that before in practice range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mouse in the middle of my mouse pad, and I'm going to move it all the way to the right of my mouse pad. And you see my mouse keeps going. I found that I do like a higher sensitivity, but ideally you're going to start with it ending right here. So if I start looking down, using this as a guide, and I just move my mouse all the way to the right, I want it to end about here. Then if I move it all the way back to the middle of the mouse pad, I'll go here. If I move it to the left side of the mouse pad, 180. Okay, so ideally I feel like 180 is a good spot to start. Maybe a little bit more would be nice. But if you're starting here, and your mouse is going like this, and you're doing a full 360 on a half mouse pad, that is way too sensitive, and you need to down that sensitivity. So use that guide that we just had up there to find a base sensitivity. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to Settings, Keyboard, Mouse Sensitivity, and you're going to go ahead and put it at a number that you think might work. So I'm going to go 2.3. Apply, Escape. Now when I do my 180, you see my mouse goes a lot less further around than it used to. So that means I got closer to the 180 that we wanted to start at. If you're still going massively around, then again, adjust your mouse down again. So if I'm still turning too much, maybe I go down to 2.18. It'll help if you have a notepad and tracking this. You can see that, ooh, that's pretty good. That's 180 right there. So that's a good starting point. And once you get that point, now you want to kind of see how that aim feels to you.
Bogeys incoming.
A good way to do that would be to see, can you just switch between the two targets pretty quickly, pretty accurately? Okay. So I'm just going target to target, target, target. I seem to be tracking pretty good. Can I stay on my target while I'm just kind of walking around? Keep that mouse on there. If you find that you're going off like way too much and readjusting, your sensitivity might still be too high. You might want to lower it just a little bit. Ideally, you still want to be able to go here to your ally to back pretty accurately. So you still want to maintain that 180 if possible. It's okay if you go a little bit less, but then you have to pick up your mouse when you do a turn. But how often are you actually turning around 180 degrees in Rivals, assuming you have good positioning? So that would be what I'd be looking at. If you find that you're switching from one target and you're falling short and then doing a second flick to get there, then your sensitivity might want to be a little higher. You're seeing like this kind of movement. So then what you do is you figure out which way you need to go, just up it like 5 or 6 points. Once that feels like too much of correction, correct it down about halfway and just call that quits and play with that for a couple hours and then see how that feels. When you change your sensitivity, especially if it's a drastic change, it's going to feel bad for a couple hours. But starting from this baseline to find it is going to pay off dividends in the long run. And I think that is going to be the big thing for this video. I don't think I have anything else in that slideshow for you, but I will double check. So again, we talked about this point already. Go to a spot. We talked about all of this, and do some little practicing aim to make sure that you're flicking back and forth between them. All we're doing here is aiming. Once you do switch your sensitivity, when you go into your next couple games, only focus on your aim. Don't care about anything else in the game. Maybe pick Punisher, who you just point, click, and shoot, and just practice aiming. Switch between targets, shooting. You don't care if you win or lose. You don't care what your teammates say. Just practice your aiming. After a couple hours, it'll feel pretty good. You'll understand if you need to up it a little bit. Just know that changing it like by 0.05 is a pretty big change. So I would say like going that kind of increments or decrement or down that much if possible. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe. I'm going to start a Discord where I might take some offers for people to get some VOD reviews. I have a lot of experience coaching in real life or other sports. I've taken a lot of information from Overwatch that carries over to Marvel Rivals pretty easily. And so I'm looking to coach Marvel Rivals, so looking to get some practice doing that. So feel free to join the Discord, talk in the chat, give me some VOD codes if you want to get reviewed. And we can talk about some different concepts, or you can tell me some ideas of what you want to learn about in Marvel Rivals as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and good luck in your next game.